but there's a lot of fundamental differences between the approach of global governance, for example, that both the EU and China stand really at opposite sides of. The EU is led by, they're both led by values, I suppose, whereas the EU has a much more holistic view on introducing human rights as part of the conversation when it comes time to investment and trade, whereas China doesn't want to have that conversation, not for a good or bad reason, but their own point of view is that we need to grow our economy, we're focused on internal growth dynamics, and we need external partners to help us do this. And this is one of the main contention points when it comes time to forging a path forward, despite this innovation in trade that you discussed. Also, we have externalities which will impact the EU-China relations. We mentioned the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, what's happening there. And I think this is an area where sort of in secondary ways, both China and the EU can work together to solve, or to at least help solve the disputes in that part of the world, to engage further and to build goodwill amongst each other when it comes time to developing good diplomatic and trade relations. We mentioned the summit, EU summit with China in December, which was, I think, by all accounts a failure. And they're hoping to build upon this, but if they don't crack the code of how do they move forward in terms of value-based politics, I think this will remain stagnant. Although business will continue, I think politically it will remain stagnant.
Well, I'm going to differ with him sharply on this. If the EU is so interested in values, where is their strong leadership and voice on Hamas? This idea that somehow China is supposed to be helping Europe when Europe is lagging the world, this has nothing to do with China. At 1.2%, literally, Europe is dragging down the world average. Growth has shifted to sub-Saharan Africa, which has 6 of the top 10 economic hotspots. China is going to be at 4.8. It's 3.5 times. EU will be 3.5 times less. The EU's problem, especially Germany, was that their cheap energy was in essence destroyed by this Ukrainian situation, which for many, not just in China, but in the third world, believe was avoidable. So this idea that somehow China is responsible for actions that were taken by the US and Europe is not constructive.